Hello everyone and welcome to Titan Sports. I'm Ethan Michael.
Good to see you again. I'm Alex Granados.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Oscar Rodriguez.
It's good to see all of you again. I'm Marisa Flores, and as always, we're here to get the ball rolling to provide you with your weekly sports updates. Welcome to another episode of Titan Sports.
After tearing his ACL with the Rams in the 2022 Super Bowl and remaining a free agent this past season, Odell Beckham Jr. is now a Baltimore Raven.
The returning star wide receiver signed a short-term one-year deal worth $15 million, perhaps looking to prove himself for a larger role in the future.
After such an exciting start to his career, Beckham has dealt with his fair share of bumps in the road in recent years. The lack of consistency in his production due to injuries, mediocre rosters, and changing teams has kept his name out of the top receiver conversation.
The last time he played, Beckham proved that he was fully capable of returning to his old form, being one of the lead candidates for Super Bowl MVP. The 30-year-old is now hoping to find some consistent production with his new team.
When it comes to the Ravens' 2019 MVP Lamar Jackson, the topic of his contract ending this year has still yet to be resolved.
Before the start of this past season, Jackson was initially offered a guaranteed contract worth $130 million. However, after seeing lower-ranked mobile quarterbacks such as Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray receive well above that, Jackson decided to earn the contract he felt he deserved with no future years signed. Unfortunately, Jackson was sidelined for most of the half of the second season.
The Ravens' recent social media post of a screenshot of Odell Beckham Jr. and Lamar Jackson FaceTiming with smiles is a positive sign for the Ravens flock.
The U.S. women's national team defeated Ireland on Saturday 2-0 in the last remaining games before the World Cup. The game came to a halt when Mallory Swanson was injured and carted off the field.
Swanson sustained a rough head injury in the 25th minute when up against Ireland goalkeeper Courtney Brosnan, but shook it off and ran back on the field. However, in the 40th minute, Swanson crashed with the Ireland defender Aoife Mannion and immediately raised her hands to signal a serious injury.
With Swanson's left leg immobilized, a stretcher was then rushed to the field, and she was carted off and rushed to the hospital with a confirmed knee injury.
The loss of Swanson is a major fault in the U.S. women's team coming into the World Cup. She was the U.S. women's national team's most prevalent scorer during the She Believes Cup and has been in the recent months.
U.S. manager Vlatko Andovsky has selected Trinity Rodman to replace Swanson in this match and looks to be her replacement if Swanson has to stay off the field in the first World Cup games.
Sticking with soccer on the Italian side, Inter Milan player Romelu Lukaku was sent off the field with his second yellow card of the Italian semi-finals after he responded with a gesture towards Juventus fans who directed racist chants against him.
This incident happened when Lukaku scored a penalty kick in stoppage time, earning Inter Milan a 1-1 draw against Juventus.
In celebration, Lukaku held his finger to his lips, silencing the crowd after scoring. This gesture infuriated Juventus players, and the match came into a halt in a scuffle between two squads, with two players getting sent off the field.
Rock Nation Sports International President Michael Yomark states, quote, "Tonight's racist remarks towards Romelu Lukaku by Juventus fans in turn were beyond despicable and cannot be accepted," end quote.
Well, Ethan, this is not the first time Lukaku has been targeted for being black. The player has been targeted for two other matches in his time with Inter Milan and another notable time on social media in 2019. Racism has been a long-standing issue that is extremely prevalent in Italian football.
Well, we're going to head into the octagon now because this past weekend at UFC 287, we witnessed Israel Adesanya finally take his revenge on Alex Pereira, knocking him out cold to regain his throne.
Pereira was 3-0 against Adesanya, 2 in kickboxing and the other at UFC 281. Pereira had been a matchup nightmare for him physically and mentally, with power unlike any other.
Adesanya was strictly business Saturday night. No special walkouts, dancing, or playfulness. He walked out looking focused, intense, and determined.
Pereira was in control early on once again, but his eagerness for another knockout cost him. Adesanya's leg buckled after taking a leg kick and was up against the cage, where he stunned Pereira with a right-hand counter and followed it with another right to reclaim his middleweight belt.
After the fight, Adesanya nixed any potential trilogy talk, saying, quote, "I don't keep score, I settle them. And now it's settled. I've closed that chapter," end quote. And that chapter may very well be closed considering Pereira may make a move up to light heavyweight.
As the NBA's regular season comes to an end, the playoff pictures are beginning to set a matchup in place.
What may be the most anticipated matchup in round one includes the Suns and Clippers. Both teams have had to adjust quite a bit after each receiving former MVPs, with Kevin Durant going to the Suns and Westbrook signing with the Clippers.
Durant and Westbrook were once an iconic duo themselves for the Thunder, but for the first time in 6 months, they'll be facing each other in the playoffs.
The hype doesn't end there, however, as Chris Paul will be facing his old team. Paul was a part of the famous Lob City teams that had success in the regular season but always ended with disappointment in the playoffs. This will be the first time Paul will play his old team, with hopes to rewrite the script in the postseason.
The Suns have been scorching hot since they received Kevin Durant. The team has yet to lose with him on the court, winning 8 straight games.
With All-Star guard Paul George out for at least the next couple of games, the Suns are in prime position to win the series and advance far in the playoffs.
And now on to Titan Timeline, where Micah Sutherland started this past weekend, earning Big West Pitcher of the Week for the 3rd time this season.
That's right. After dropping the opening game Friday, the Titans' at-bats and pitching responded in a big way on Saturday.
The Titans scored 15 runs on 16 hits between the doubleheader. Sutherland pitched all 3 games against Cal State Northridge, going 2-1.
She threw a gem and was nearly perfect in the second game of the doubleheader. She walked the first batter of the 5th inning to lose the perfect game, but tossed a 5-inning no-hitter, ending the game with her 9th strikeout.
This is the program's 58th no-hitter in history and plays a huge role in the Big West standings. The Titans are 1 game out of first place in the conference and will go on the road for a series this weekend at UC San Diego.
All right, now stay tuned because next we have our roundtable discussion coming right up after this break. Hello everyone and welcome back to our roundtable discussion. We had a lot of big headlines this past week, all in UFC, some big, not trades, but OBJ, a big sign in football actually, I should say. But perhaps my favorite and what I think is the biggest of them all, the NBA playoffs are coming to a start actually, and all season the Western Conference has been super tight. So specifically I want to know for the Western Conference playoffs at least, who is your guys' biggest upset?
It has to be the Lakers. That assuming I'm already putting them, they're going to roll past the Timberwolves just because Timberwolves suspended Rudy Gobert for the incident we all know about. They're missing their backup center, Naz Reid, and their best wing defender, Jaden McDaniels, was injured. And Anthony Davis is playing out of his mind right now, so they should roll through the Timberwolves tonight unless Karl Anthony just walks on water for some reason, goes for 40 or something. But yeah, after that, the Grizzlies, Steven Adams is also injured, so they're going to have another size advantage. And the Grizzlies still are a young team, so I see that upset happening for sure. How about you guys?
I like how you mentioned you have the Lakers winning too. I was talking about it with Ethan yesterday. I have the Lakers going far too, and then I was telling him how I watched a clip on YouTube about Kendrick Perkins, how he did a take about how LeBron's injury was kind of like a blessing in disguise, basically. Like with him going out, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Davis, and Austin Reeves to take that bigger role of the team and actually carrying them on their back. So them playing a little bit more together as a team, I feel like, especially at the end of the season, they were just hot too. They're winning crazy. So I feel like they should be able to go far.
They're going to go far if Anthony Davis steps up and becomes the man of the team. And like I feel like sometimes people are like waiting for LeBron to hand the torch. I mean, no, you take that. You can't, like Anthony Davis has to take that. That's the criticism of him. He's always been a passive guy, and he's always not been able to maintain in the playoffs. I mean, this is as big as a playoffs for him as any other player, really. So. And
then LeBron goes crazy always in the playoffs, no matter what seed he always gets.
Well, he's also like 40 years old. Yeah. I mean, you can't criticize him for much longer. But to add to another upset, though, I don't know if they're an upset, but I definitely have the Warriors beating the Kings because they know how to flip the switch. They're the scariest team in the league. Last year, I felt the same way. Like if they just flip the switch, they know what to do. They have the formula. I don't know what's going on with Andrew Wiggins, though. So if he's playing, if he's on the right mind, I mean, I feel bad about whatever the situation may be. But, yeah, it's going to depend on Andrew Wiggins.
I think the craziest upset would come in the first round, and I think you know what I'm about to say, between the Clippers and the Suns. I think I saw a tweet, actually, all 14 analysts picked the Suns to win, so that's a 14-0 sweep.
That's Ethan right there, bro.
It's the biggest, probably the biggest time the Clippers have ever been the underdogs, but I think absolutely if they win that series, obviously it's going to be one of the biggest upsets, and I know PG is questionable right now. He's kind of iffy on that first game coming back, but I think if he does come back, it will be a little shaky, but I think I've seen them, you know, put up some points when it was dire, when they really needed to, so I don't know. I have hope for them, but I know the Suns have some big contenders. I mean, God, you got KD, you have Devin Booker, you have Chris Paul, you have all of them, dude. It's like a trifecta. How are you going to beat that, you know? And I think if the Clippers are going to win, though, they definitely will have to step up their defense, especially Mason Plumlee and Zubac at the rim, because with that height and with this team, you're definitely going to need to put up some height to make up for all those threes. I mean, we know they're going to make them.
Well, if anybody's a super team slayer, it's Kawhi Leonard. So he's been known to turn up in the playoffs and carry teams. So if anybody's going to beat that team who hasn't lost yet since getting KD, it's going to be Kawhi. But I think the biggest thing is that Paul George isn't healthy. It would be a much bigger matchup if he was. I don't know about – I mean, I love the way Russell Westbrook plays, but I don't know about him in crunch time. I just give the ball to Kawhi if they want to win. But yeah, no, Kawhi he's been hurt and he's been out of the discussion. You look back to like the 2019, one of the best runs I've ever seen of carrying teams, especially against teams that he's supposed to lose to. So if anybody's going to do it, it's Kawhi.
Yeah. What do you think about, Marisa, what do you think about the Thunder and the Pelicans? Do you have the Thunder winning, or do you think what the Pelicans are going to have with that roster depth as well?
I'm a big Shea fan. So, I mean, the Thunder have been great this season, but the Pelicans have absolutely dominated in the conference too, especially I feel like in games where, as well, that people didn't think they were going to win. They came back, flipped the script, and won by almost like at least a 10-point margin, it seems like. So I think the Pelicans, too, are another really big defensive team, too, that can really block Shea on some shots if they really wanted to. Or Shea, I'm sorry. So big Shea girl. I really love him, all his work. He's put in some hard work this season, but I think the Pelicans are going to go ahead and take that first series for sure.
I think they're going to win, too, but I think it's just going to be a tough matchup, especially if they win this game. They have to play the loser of the Lakers and the I think the Timberwolves, correct? And then after that, they have to play the Nuggets. I just feel like it's going to be a tough road if they're willing to go far enough. I feel like they can win the game, but I feel that if anything, they might just lose against the loser of Timberwolves or the Lakers. And even if they pass that game, they're going to be tired by the Nuggets. And the Nuggets have, like a week of rest, too? So they're going to be prepared, and then it's going to be bad for the Thunder if they advance.
Follow-up question. Along with biggest upset, who do you guys see in the Western Conference that are going to be the last two standing?
You would think it's the Warriors and Suns. They are on track to be in the conference finals, if anything, but it's hard to trust the Nuggets in the playoffs. So I definitely see those two teams in the Western Conference playoffs.
Something I wanted to ask you guys, let's talk about the Nuggets. The two guys who have been in the MVP discussion the last couple of years, Embiid, Jokic, right, and Giannis as well. But Giannis has won MVP, he's won Defensive Player of the Year, and he's won a ring. Those other two have not even made the finals. And so I wanted to ask who you guys got as MVP this season. It's a regular season award. You know, Jokic has 2, Giannis has 2, Embiid has 0. I don't really agree with that. I don't think one of them should have 3 and he have 0. But you can make the case for any of them. You know, I would say Embiid just because of that. But you know, you do have to go off of the regular season. But those two, Jokic and Embiid, got to make a run for the MVP to even matter. So who do you guys got for MVP?
I feel like if Embiid does make a far run, if anything, the Eastern Conference Finals, I feel he's like definitely the front runner to get it, especially because all the time the 76ers are always known as like the choke team. They always bring in these late additions to the team. Like a few years ago, they brought Jimmy Butler and stuff like that. They thought they were gonna have the run, and then Kawhi came in and ended after that. So if they go far, if anything, I feel like Eastern Conference Finals, I feel like he'll be a front runner for me.
Oh no, go ahead.
That's the issue with the MVP award, is they award it during the playoffs. But it's going to be Jokic again. It's most likely going to be that. But you can make the argument for Jalen Brunson as well. All those other three guys are just really great, but it's going to be Jokic.
For MVP?
Yeah.
All right.
You should have some consideration.
Who do you got? Who do you got in that series? Because I feel like that's the best series in the first round in the East. You got the Cavs. I want the
It's gonna
Knicks
be the
though.
Cavaliers.
I want the Knicks though. The underdogs.
You think the Knicks are gonna win?
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's always nice though. I mean, the
Okay.
New York, they have.
Okay.
I don't think they've won a playoff series, have they?
Exactly.
In a while?
Like in New York, like I feel like they have all that delusional like fan base where,
Yeah.
like if they win a series, they won. They're in the finals. If they win two series, they won the championship. So, I think it's great for the league when the Knicks are in, even though they haven't really done anything ever, like since the 70s. So I think it's just because it's New York. I think it's good for the league.
No, they definitely probably have one of my favorite fan bases for sure. Do you guys, sorry, random, but do you guys follow that account, Side Talk NYC? They do like street interviews. And in one of the videos, actually, they were interviewing outside of a Knicks game, and they were interviewing the fans. And oh my gosh, dude, they were playing Trae Young that game too. So you could only imagine all the fans just going off. But going back to your MVP question, I'm going to say Embiid too. I do agree Brunson is actually a good contender for this season. I also do feel as if it's going to be Jokic because of his popularity this season, but Embiid does deserve it with all the stats, that he's been putting up this season. He's definitely a big contender, but then you do have people like you mentioned Jokic and Brunson that people are bringing up. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's going to end up going to Jokic too, just because he's been huge in the media, but Embiid does deserve that trophy, that title. I know, lastly, to finish off, we were also talking about UFC before we skip it, but we talked about Adesanya and his little celebration. I know one of you were a big fan of it. I forgot who. Did you want to talk a little bit more about it?
It was a badass moment because he lost, right? He lost, and the kid of the opponent, he did a little celebration where he fell to the floor. And then, I like a good villain. I like a good trash talker. And when he won, he went up to the kid who was crying and did the celebration. I mean, that's just such a full circle moment. And I think it's just great showmanship. That's just great showmanship. And it shows just how to come back from a taunting defeat like that.
Yeah, I bet when the kid did that celebration to him, that was probably the beginning of his origin story for him.
Yeah, oh no, he's going to come, yeah.
No, he said it in an interview too. He said he remembered that fight. He remembered the kid being there, and he was like, oh, this little, like, he was so frustrated. And then after the fight, he said he remembered seeing him outside of the fence, and he just pointed at him, and he was like, you sleep. And that kid was crying. Like, I know he's receiving some backlash for it because the kid was crying, but, they're athletes. They're going to.
Oh, it's a UFC. No, there's none of that. This is UFC.
I think I was talking to you guys. I think Alex mentioned, like, oh, I'm surprised, like, I don't know if it was you, but, like, one of you guys were, like, saying, like, oh, I was surprised that he, like, remembered about that. But if I were him, like, I would definitely remember if somebody was talking smack about me. So whenever, like, I do good, I'll mention it back at him. So, I mean, it is a little kid, so there is, like, I don't know why he did that, but, I mean, it's up to him.
He's passionate. He's a passionate fighter, and I think you could even see it in his post-fight speech, too. When he took the microphone and was addressing the crowd, he was telling everyone, if you work this hard at something, come and do it, and when you do it, celebrate, because you've made it this far, so, you might as well. He definitely put in the work. Huge congratulations to him, for sure.
Congrats to him. But I don't know if you guys saw real quick that the speech he did with Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall was, like, going to bet $100,000 on him, and he told him, like, I could bet my life that I'm going to win you back that money and everything, and he did. So I don't know what was the payout on that, but must have been nice. What?
You said life?
He said, I bet my life that you're going to make
So you got his life back, I guess.
I guess so, and more money too, bro.
Yeah.
All right, Titans, that is all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Oscar Rodriguez.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'm Ethan Michael.
See you again. I'm Alex Granados.
It was great to be with you all again today. I'm Marisa Flores. Go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter if you haven't already at CSUF Titan Sports to keep you updated on all things sports. We'll see you next time.